Welcome to my YouTube channel. I am your entrepreneurship tutor, Professor Henry Buisa. Yes, colleagues, you asked me to talk a little about qualitative research to share with you and our students about qualitative research in this very short while. Yes, let me briefly talk about qualitative research. But before that, let me just talk about research, or rather define research in very simple terms. Yes, research is searching for facts, searching for knowledge, looking for solutions systematically, scientifically if you want. But look at the word research is composed of two kind of words together. Hyphen, then search. The means again and again, defining and redefining problems. And the search, looking for facts, looking for solutions. So research means it's continuous, it's repetitive, it's cyclical. Just imagine or relate this to the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We are told we all have needs. We have levels of needs. The basic up to self-actualization. But even within each level, there are sub-levels. And once you finish one level, you fulfill one level, another one comes in. So life is like continuous. You finish one need, another one comes in, and we can relate therefore that to research. You do research today, you create a solution, another problem comes on because life must continue. And hence, research again and again. And how about now qualitative research? Because this is what you requested me to talk about. Qualitative research. It is a method of in-depth, I want us to underline in-depth, a method of in-depth searching for facts and knowledge which employs a non-numeric. Let me also underline non-numeric. In-depth non-numeric approaches such as exploration, exploring, and this is to understand the experiences of respondents from their perspective, not our perspective, from their perspective. The aim of qualitative research is to gain a deep understanding of specific organization, event, phenomenon as opposed to surface description of large numbers or large samples. So that is qualitative research. The keywords here are in-depth and non-numeric. Now, let's look at therefore this spectrum of research. This is the spectrum running from my left to my right, meaning that we can have a range of research or research types. Look, at the end here, at the extreme end, we have qualitative. At the extreme right, the end, we have quantitative. Now, qualitative is mainly exploratory and in-depth. Quantitative is mainly explanatory and widespread. So, whereas this qualitative goes deep into one aspect or single aspect, very deep, very qualitative, the quantitative goes breadth-wise, spreads wide, not as deep, but covers a wide population, representative samples. qualitative may not be representative sample. Now, we use inductive approach when dealing with the qualitative. Inductive means generalizing from particular instances. And over there in quantitative, you deductive, meaning concluding from a general idea. Now, in terms of numeric foundation, the extreme left, purely qualitative research has 0% of numeric foundation. Quantitative has 100%. These are the differences. That's why you call them quantitative. Numerals, numerical foundation, fully dealing with the numbers, quantities. 0% in terms of qualitative. Now, qualitative is hypothesis building, theory building, generate theory, generate hypothesis. Quantitative is hypothesis or theory testing. Now, in the middle is what we call mixed researches or mixed research types. So there is qualitative, quantitative, but they merge into each other and we now have mixed methods. In other words, you can choose to do a purely qualitative research, you can choose to do a purely quantitative research, but you can also do mixed. And now, it looks like therefore, one gives a baton to another. It's a relay that when qualitative develops a theory, the quantitative picks up that theory to confirm it. So, qualitative, quantitative, like supportive of each other, complementarity and all that. So, this is a general spectrum. When we are talking about extremes, of course I'm using extremes for purposes of explanation, but in real life you'll find that we generally deal with mixed researches. But because I was requested to talk about qualitative, let me now stick to the qualitative, extreme, pure qualitative, ideal qualitative. So in that case, there are some key aspects that qualitative research picks that are actually different from, they differ from quantitative research. Let's start with variables. You see, qualitative research does not introduce treatments or does not manipulate variables. Rather, qualitative research lets the meaning emerge from the participants. So ideally, therefore, there are no variables in the title of a qualitative research. In quantitative research, we are always keen to say the title must contain the dependent, independent variable. But look, we are saying that for qualitative, there in fact may be no variable, can be zero variable. You're just asking a question. Why is this so and so? How and all that. There could even be just a single variable. Now let's come to hypothesis. On our spectrum, we said this is hypothesis or theory building. Therefore, it doesn't start with a hypothesis. It ends with a hypothesis. So we're saying, therefore, you have indicated in the spectrum that the numerical foundation of the qualitative research is 0. Numerical foundation, 0. Quantitative, 100%. Therefore, qualitative research does not advance testable hypothesis. It generates the hypothesis and the theory, at the end of the research, and those are now the ones that quantitative picks to go to test them. Let's come to conceptual framework. We know what a conceptual framework is. With the known variables that have been advanced, the conceptual framework of a qualitative research is not the common diagrammatic cause and effect dependent variables. No, qualitative research will not have that type of diagrammatic, conceptual framework. It may have a diagram, but not necessarily a cause and effect, a relationship. These are the relationships we're going to discover in the field, and therefore it may not appear. Of course, there may also be no diagram. Maybe a diagram which is not necessarily cause and effect, and there may be no diagram, just a narrative. And therefore, something like a working hypothesis can be used to stand for a conceptual framework in a qualitative research. Of course, we know what a hypothesis is. A hypothesis is a supposition or a proposed explanation made on the basis of limited evidence as a starting point for further investigation. So we want to investigate, but we can predict, we can make a supposition, and then we go out there and gather evidence related to that, prediction. That is particularly in quantitative analysis, quantitative research. But since qualitative does not pick those numerical foundation zero, we are saying that a working hypothesis, of course it has a hypothesis, but the working hypothesis, which may become the conceptual framework of a qualitative research, is a non-testable, suggested explanation that is provisionally accepted as a basis for further research in the hope that a tenable theory will be produced, even if the hypothesis ultimately fails. So we come with a tentative, suggested explanation, hypothesis, but which we are not going to test. It may even change during the course of the research, and that can stand in for a conceptual framework. How about methodological aspects? Qualitative research is anchored on observations. You go and record what you saw, what you had, what you encountered, observation. And you are observing as a researcher. You are a scholar in it, you are an expert in it. So you may observe and take your own subjective view. After all, you are the guru in it. You have all these grounded theories and all that. So, interviews, one-on-one questions, interviewing respondents, and picking the information, recording if you want, writing down if you want, focus group discussions, asking questions and generating a discussion, taking your notes. You see, that is an extreme qualitative research. There are no closed-ended questions, closed questions, questionnaires. There are no Likert scale questionnaire items. If there are question items, they will be open-ended. So you let the people tell you. You do not direct them. Some approaches, grounded theory approach. That means the generation of a theory but grounded in the generated data. For example, in entrepreneurship, there is a belief that in every country, and even every African country, there is an ethnic group that is more entrepreneurial than the rest, than others. We see it in Igbo in Nigeria, Guragi in Ethiopia, Chaka in Tanzania, Akan in Ghana, and Kikuyu in Kenya. But recently in Kenya, there is an observation that the Kisiis are now the fastest upcoming entrepreneurial groups. So one asks, all along it has been Kikuyus. So what is it that has happened that the Kisiis have? What is it that has happened to this community to make them entrepreneurial compared, for example, now to the traditional, the so-called, I call it stereotype. I don't believe in that, but that is not for today. So this may call for some in-depth study of the Kisii community to generate a theory, a mini theory, a hypothesis that can go be tested. This is when we do qualitative, in-depth study of that community to see why it is now entrepreneurial. You see, grounded theory. You get a theory from, generated from that grounded information, in-depth information that you studied. It can even be in HR, human resource specialist. You see, a company does very well. Safaricom, let's take it. Does very well. And you start thinking, well, is it the corporate culture? So you may want to go and immerse yourself in that organization and do in-depth observations, talking to people, interviewing people, focus group. Now we call it ethnography. If that was grounded theory, ethnography, that means production of a narrative account. Go in, immerse yourself in that, talk, watch, observe, discuss, and come up with a narration, a story about that organization. And so these are some of the, we shall see other areas that you'd use qualitative researches. Now, how about sampling? How about sampling, key sampling techniques? Quarter sampling. This is when a population is divided into groups, sometimes called strata, and then a non-probability. A non-probability samples, non-probability samples are taken from each group or each quarter. Purposive sampling or intentional selection of informants based on their ability to elucidate a specific theme, concept, or snowball sampling. You may go into explore, but you don't know all, you don't have a sampling frame. You don't know. Let's say you want to look at, the effect of domestic violence on family businesses. You may not have a list, a frame, some of where you get those domestic violence families. But getting one and being signposted to another and discovering and all that. Sometimes we even want to do a tracer study, let's say, of our students who graduated and went away and want to see where they are. We may not have a sample list or a list of a frame of where they are. You get one and one post to another and on and on. That is snowballing. Now, how about data analysis? We have already said, you go and you get qualitative data. You get notes, you get observations. From open-ended questions, you get those varied responses. Then you come and look at the content. You analyze the content. You categorize the content in some, even the open-ended questionnaires will give you that. So you analyze the content, you categorize them, bring up the themes, cluster them. They will give you some themes, and you analyze these themes, you categorize them into patterns, and you go on and therefore deduce or draw conclusions from that. Of course, once we're doing this, you can see quantitative can come in, because we can now start saying how many were of this theme, how many very simple quantitative analysis comes in. So now, as I finish, I've already given some situations where qualitative research can apply. Here again, new product idea generation and development, investigating current or potential product, service, a brand, positioning and marketing to marketers, analyzing the strengths and weaknesses of products and brands, purchase, procurement people, understanding purchase decisions dynamics. These are some of the situations that can call for qualitative research. So I want to say, qualitative research is different from quantitative research in those aspects that I've said: variables, hypotheses, methods of gathering data, methods of analysis, and all that. Qualitative research does not cover a wide sample, and therefore the results may or cannot be generalized, but a theory can be developed. The theory that will now be subjected to quantitative analysis to prove it wrong or right, because it was like you did a case study, and the case study may not be generalized. So, but the bottom line is this: today, it may not, it's fashionable that you apply both mixed methods, qualitative and quantitative. That does not stop you from doing a purely quantitative and a purely qualitative. You have your academic freedom, academic democracy. I want to think that colleagues who say that exploratory research, qualitative research is too low for PhD, I want to say the contrary. Who is better placed to generate a theory from their knowledge they got, or a hypothesis? My take is that indeed exploratory and qualitative research suits that PhD level even more, because these are the candidates better placed, best placed to come up with theories, to come up with hypotheses. I do not therefore believe that we can say that one type of research, qualitative, is too low for one level or another. It all depends on the objective and on the magnitude we're going to study. So these are some of the very basic differences, and as I said, it was just an overview. We can revisit it, we can discuss further. Thank you, and have a qualitative day and research. Want you.